welcome to this week's Monday Minutes. My name is Kelly.
And my name is Jessie, and this week we're going to talk to you about another 2211 enhancement that you're going to see in the upcoming release. This has to do all with patron restrictions. Previously, a lot of the codes were hard-coded. In this release, you're going to have some options where you can add additional restriction values. So Kelly, tell us a little bit more about this.
So, in the past with Koha will automatically restrict your patron, with those overdues, when you're discharged, and those are hard-coded, and Koha is going to pick those correctly. However, when your staff creates a restriction manually, they've only ever had the ability to add a comment and a date. There is a new system preference that's going to allow you to add a drop-down for patron staff to be able to pick a restriction that you've predetermined.
Perfect. So let's go in and we're going to start with the system preference because this is essentially what's going to turn this on. So if we come in here and we go into restriction, we're going to see a new system preference for patron restriction types. Now, by default, this will be set to don't allow, but once we set it to allow, that will allow the patron restriction to be specified when you're selecting it manually. So now once that's changed and we go back to administration, we're going to see under patrons in circulation, a new patron restriction type.
Who thought we could fit more onto that page? Well, guess what? We've done it.
So by default, you'll see discharge, manual, overdues, and suspension in there. So right now, manual was the only one in previous releases that you would, technically see. Discharge would be if you use those radio buttons. Suspension would be if you're using suspension in your circ and fine rules. And then, of course, overdues ties into the restrict column in your overdue and notice status triggers. So prior to this, Kelly and I came in and we added another option and we called it trespass. So Kelly, let's walk through adding a new one.
Okay, so if we want to add another restriction, another option for your staff to use, you're going to assign a code. Remember the code, 10 digits or less, no special characters, and no spaces. So we thought about maybe some like property damage, some defacing might be a reason you would restrict somebody. Mm-hmm. So Jessie's going to follow those code rules and add that in there.
Okay.
Perfect. Have the ability when you add new to pick which one's going to be the default choice. So by default, the default choice will be manual, which is the one that was Koha created. But the two we created, property damage and trespassing, you can see I have that option to make either of those the default option. One more thing to note, you cannot delete the hard-coded value ones because Koha is using those. So discharge, manual, overdues, those will not be deletable.
Excellent. Now let's go into our patrons. Let's look at Ruth Galloway's account. And we come down here, we look at that restrictions. We hit that add manual restriction. You'll notice now we have a drop down. So before it used to just be comment and expiration, but now that we turn the system preference on, we have a drop down. Now you'll see manual, property damage, and trespassing. So you can customize that however you want, whatever matches your policy in the library.
It's always good to remember that with this upgrade, we're not going to change any functionality out of the box. So this is something you would need to turn on. This is not going to change right away. It's just something that if you find that this would be helpful for your library to be able to identify specific restrictions versus just having this free form text box while you're restricting somebody. Remember, we're getting super excited and get excited and start looking about 2211.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, first week of Koha Community Challenge has wrapped. Kelly, what were some of your activities?
Well, Jessie, we have had so much rain that we're trying to dodge it. But I have a dog, so we're always out just either hiking or walking, depending on how much rain we have, so he doesn't get too muddy. But that's what I've been doing. And you?
Running, biking, and of course, out on those dog walks.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, well, have a great week.